and welcome to another exciting episode of Bond Never Dies. And this particular mission, or maybe it's something else, but let's use our imaginations real quick. Let's say that Bond takes on a mission a little bit different from his past missions. So we're going to look at something where, is this a sixth mission or not? We'll have to take a look at this. But this mission that he is doing on this one is called On Her Majesty Secret Service.
So in this one, Bond has been tracking down Blofeld for 2 years, unsuccessfully. M tells him that he's got to stop looking. Bond, of course, defies him, doing the whole traditional cop movie. Once your badge and gun are taken away, you can finally solve the crime. He finds out that Blofeld is actually in Switzerland, claiming to be somebody else. In this one, Bond also has falls in love with a woman who actually falls back in love with him. That's pretty much it. Oh, I'm sorry. Blofeld, the big plot. Blofeld has a virus that he wants to release that will stop plants and animals and humans from procreating to ruin the stock markets. And that's pretty much it.
Hi, I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, and with me, the one and only Travis Hanna.
Ba-da-ba-da.
And before we even start the mission, let's go ahead and talk about the beginning intro to the... Actually, let's go ahead and go right to the beginning, actually, and then we'll go right into where the music lays in there. Go ahead, Travis. How does it go?
Well, it starts out with Q and M talking about radioactive lint. I'm not really sure what's going on here.
It felt like that was like another story about the end and a new story about the begin or something like that. It was interesting. I guess Q is working on a project and he wanted to show M, like, I'm in a process of something really cool where you could probably maybe have lint in your pocket and you could use as a weapon, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Like they're talking about something that the audience has no info about. Something to do with Cairo. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But then it cuts to Bond, and he's driving like on this winding road next to a beach, and this woman comes up behind him in her sports car and passes him, which intrigues him. So he starts following. Then he's catches up to her, and she's walking into the ocean in an attempt to drown herself. And he runs up there and stops her, and then these two henchmen come out of nowhere and start fighting Bond.
Yeah, because there was no... Did we even see a car drive up?
No, they just
came out of nowhere. It came out
of nowhere.
And then Bond goes into his first fight scene, and we see him Bond gets straight to the action. I'm seeing straight cut to the face, uppercuts. Throw him a couple times in the water, these enemies.
Yeah, one guy even tries uses an anchor.
Yes.
To try and fight Bond.
And Bond goes straight for the kill. So we think, when he face planted someone's face into the sand until they couldn't move anymore.
Right. So he's fighting this guy in the ocean, probably about waist high. The water's waist high, and he's not even waist high, because he smashes this guy's face into the sand underwater. So the dude is breathing sand and water.
Right. And so from there, his other homeboy, I guess he gets the upper hand. And I want to say right after that, they pulled out a gun finally. They realized I have a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's use this. And so that leads to Bond has to play well with them. And so the next thing we go into is he tells him to get on this boat, because I think, and I'm only speaking from the mind of the enemy, is let's put him on a boat, let's shoot him, and then we'll push the boat into the water where we're hiding the evidence. That's what my theory is thinking of this enemy, but he was not. But that didn't make sense to me at the same time.
Well, right, because you would have to push the boat out past the waves for that to work.
Right. So
also, the fights are just a bunch of cutscenes, jump cuts.
Yeah.
Literally, there's a scene where he knocks a guy down on the ground. Mm-hmm. Dude has a knife in his hand. He kicks the knife out of the guy's hand while he's on the ground. Mm-hmm. And then the next scene is they're both standing up and he's uppercutting him.
Mm-hmm. That's how good Bond is.
Yeah.
Bond just knows how to cut those scenes into the best hits in the world.
All of the fights in this movie are jump cuts to try to make it more action-packed, I guess, but it's a little ridiculous.
And so even Bond does an uppercut where he looks like he's about to fall. He put so much might into the uppercut. I think he fell on his back. But during this whole fight and everything, before Bond was even like going to be on this boat to get shot, so Tracy ends up like leaving.
Shh, we don't know her name yet.
Oh, my apologies.
It hasn't been introduced.
Ooh, my apologies. Okay, sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves of a name. So Bond, Bond's in this. The girl, the mysterious girl, steals Bond's car, drives it up the hill.
No, it's the henchman's car. She steals the henchman's car, drives it up the hill, gets out, and gets into.
I thought Bond drove his car down to that beach so he can get down.
Oh, did he?
I thought he did.
I don't remember seeing that. Okay,
but anyway,
either way, you're right. She gets back up, gets in her car.
She's somebody's car.
That's right.
She goes up,
and she drives off. And Bond looks at the camera and says, "Well, that never happened to the other fellow." Mm-hmm. So he like references the fact that he's not Sean Connery, which brings up a whole plethora of.
But who is the actor playing this Bond? Travis?
Oh, it's George Lazenby.
Yes, the one and only, and actually the one and only time you'll see him as a Bond. And so back in this film that came out in 1969, and this leads to the music of the movie. Which the reason I wanted to talk about the music now and we're not talking about after because the song is so short and so pointless of what they were trying. They didn't really care. Well, and it was a flashback of all the previous Bonds leading up to this Bond.
Right. So we don't actually get to see. We have no idea what this movie is actually about. Because we have nothing to indicate what's going on,
and we're getting stuff from Thunderball, we're getting stuff from Goldfinger, we're getting stuff from Russia with Love, we're getting stuff from Doctor No, we're getting all these things with the most boringest music ever. Shape in an Hourglass, this whole thing, no singing, no high production music for this Bond, and we're in the sixth movie of this Bond, and we have never seen anything like this. So I was a little disappointed by it, but it is what it is. You know, I guess maybe they had this. By the way, this movie, if you decide to watch this mission of this movie, it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So maybe we didn't have time to really do a song, or our budget went into making this long movie. So moving on, we go into our next scene where Bond is going to be checking a casino.
So Bond checks into a hotel, which also has a casino.
My apologies.
And he goes and plays blackjack. Because why not? Mm-hmm. It's Bond.
Now, if I'm correct, Travis, they must be in France because I swear there was a lot of French talking. I thought I could be wrong.
You're 100. It's 100% possible. The hotel has flags from all over the world on the outside. Mm. I really couldn't tell you.
Okay. Well, anyways, so he's in there and he's, playing cards with all the, it looks like the high rollers.
Right.
And then here comes this mysterious woman again from the beach, and she comes in and she just makes one bet.
Right. She just throws on one bet and she ends up losing. Mm-hmm. And she can't cover the loss. So Bond plays off that, he was with her, and she runs off and he goes to meet her. But what's interesting in this also, so there's a bunch of little weird details. So he never actually orders a martini in this one. As he's walking to the table, he asks one of the maitre d's for a bottle of champagne. Mm-hmm. And then he
this Bond is special.
Right. He sits down with Tracy and kind of talks.
She has a name. Her name is Tracy.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry. We got ahead of ourselves. The manager or owner of the hotel meets Bond as he's checking in, and Bond notices that woman's car is parked there because he parked right next to it, and so he asks whose car is that, and he says Contessa Teresa, which I don't know if they ever mentioned this, but she goes by Tracy in the movie. Mm-hmm.
And so with that,
and she is the main love interest throughout the whole movie. She is
the Bond girl. Let's just go ahead and
Diana Rigg is her name.
And so that's That's who she is. She is the Bond girl. So after they were having a conversation, I guess, honestly, I think they just sat at the table. I don't think any food got brought in or anything like that. They just sat at this table and they just had this conversation. Bond, putting his swab in.
He got I think it was Dom Perignon 57.
Something like that. So she tells, after Bond, thinks he's the super swab guy, Miss Tracy believes that, well, not Miss Tracy believes, Miss Tracy tries to play the game like, hey, come to my room later. We'll have a talk or something like that. And Bond was like, oh yeah, I'm bonding it. And so she drops him the keys, and he makes his way to the room. But Miss Tracy wasn't there. There was another guy.
Well, right, there was a henchman was there waiting for him. And
did Tracy hire him?
Right. So they fight, and of course Bond beats him.
Wait. Before we go right into Bond, I want to even talk about the particular fight, because the fight was interesting.
Okay.
It was interesting because, once again, we're back to Bond. Bond, so far we notice in most of these movies, in particular this one, is anything can be a weapon.
For sure.
Anything can be a weapon. We've seen this.
Jackie Chan rules.
Right. On his fifth mission, You Only Live Twice, he magically can pull up a couch. Grab a couch like it's nothing.
Dude, we covered that. It was IKEA.
Okay, IKEA couch. We've seen it in Thunderball, Goldfinger. We've seen it all. Anything's a weapon to Bond, as long as he can grab it and he can throw it at somebody.
Listen, when the only move is flip the guy around and throw a punch. Mm-hmm. You're kind of limited on what you can do.
Right.
But don't forget, Jean-Claude Van Damme only knew ballet when he started out in his kung fu movie or his fighting movies.
True. True. So, well, anyways, so
anyway, he fights this guy, flips him through
I don't know what
trestle or something.
I don't know what you call it.
Anyway, it was pointless.
And then he ended up leaving, and he ended up going back to his room where Miss Tracy was already there
with his gun. Mm-hmm. She found his gun, and she's pointing it at him. Mm-hmm. And Bond is like, we know what's going on.
This is the most gangster part of Bond, right?
So
here.
Bond takes the gun from her and slaps her in the face.
Right.
And
after she was provoking it, like, I can shoot you anytime. So, oh really? You're not gonna do nothing. What?
Right.
Boom! Snap the gun. Boom! Slap in the face. And boom! Get in the bed.
Right. So right after This movie has just jumps from one thought to the next sometimes without transition.
Man. Bond is straightforward.
But she was in his bed before he was, so it's like he slapped her, and then the next scene is she's in his bed.
An outside bed at that, because in the hotel there's a patio with a bed out there.
Probably because there's no air conditioning.
Probably not.
But
probably not.
But yeah,
it's nice and cool out there and all that stuff.
It was very strange.
And we also realize this is if you watch this movie, that you'll notice that this Bond in particular getting ready for he's very British when it comes to his wardrobe. He's wearing a lot of British style. What do you call that part right here, Travis?
I don't know. Anybody who's
Powers wears that too.
Ruffles, I guess. Anybody who's seen an 80s prom movie, and the guys have or Dumb and Dumber. I think it was even in Dumb and Dumber. Mm-hmm. They have pastel color shirts with the ruffles on the chest. Lazenby is just rocking this kind of stuff throughout the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. That's his thing. And this is supposed to be clarified as a different Bond compared of Sean Connery's Bond.
Right.
And so,
well, yeah, because like he said, this never happened to the other fellow. So he makes reference that he is not Sean Connery, which I haven't decided if the movie is making fun of itself because he breaks the fourth wall when he says that. Mm-hmm. He looks at the camera and tells the audience that. So I still, as we go on, maybe we'll find a place for this to fit in.
Right.
But for me, I'm just I'm not sure.
So after bonding it, James Bond wakes up alone. Tracy's gone. And before that, we did say that his henchman was not dead. He was not totally knocked out. He got up, and was about to go in there, but he heard Tracy and then he walked off. Sorry, we forgot to throw that part in there. Anyways, Bond wakes up alone, and the next thing you know, he was where was he? He was heading out, but he was going somewhere, right?
Well, he had like a golf bag with golf clubs, like he was gonna go play golf, and these henchmen in the same kind of uniform that he fought previously, which are just blue jumpsuits, like what a mechanic would wear. Mm-hmm. They tell him that he needs to come with them, and they drive through like this shipping yard where there's a bunch of cranes and stuff, and they get to like this, it looks like a warehouse, and Bond just starts fighting them, and he goes into another room, and it's all of a sudden like a really fancy house where he meets a guy named Draco. Mm-hmm. And so we find out that all these henchmen actually work for Draco.
You know, I found out that Draco, I don't know if have you seen Archer? The TV show Archer?
Not a lot.
Not a lot? Okay, there's a character that looks just like Draco on Archer.
Oh, you think it's a reference?
I think so. Archer is a lot of reference to Bond, and I think that guy referenced. They're both Hispanic, all this stuff. Because Draco is Hispanic, if I'm correct.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, so what did Draco want?
Well, Draco really just wants Bond to settle down and marry his daughter because he thinks his daughter needs to settle down.
But that's the question, though. Like, why? Like, how did he know about? I guess like he had people following him, but what make Bond check out? Like, you're qualified to marry my daughter.
Well, I was watching this with somebody else, and anybody who's a Batman fan, my buddy pointed out that this kind of correlates to Ra's al Ghul. Mm-hmm. In that Ra's picked Batman for Talia, which was his daughter, based on who Batman was. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think the same thing is happening here, where Draco understands that Bond is a powerful guy, and his daughter is a free spirit, and that maybe Bond is who can help tame his daughter and help her settle down and start a family and all that stuff.
And not knowing that he is a secret agent, right? Does he know he's a secret agent?
I don't know if that's ever covered or not.
Mm-hmm. Because at the same time, too,
I would imagine he would have to know.
Well, he has to know, right? I understand, but I guess they just never cared to clarify that. But also, it's weird that you're watching this movie, and yet he has never been in the office yet. This is still going on. He has not been in the office yet.
Right. The only time we've seen the office was the radioactive link with Q&M.
This feels like this is Bond's day off, and he just happens to get connected to this or something. So, anyways, go on. He wants her to marry her.
Yeah, and Draco offers Bond £1 million, UK currency, if he will marry Tracy. Kind of like a dowry, not like a 80s teen drama movie, but just a dowry, like, it's to help get your life started type thing.
And so that goes all the way back around to this point. I think that those two men on the beach were Draco's men.
Oh yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. They were trying to protect Tracy.
Right. So that means that they probably traced back Draco talking about, hey, this guy keeps following Tracy around. I was like, how is he? Yeah, he's a good fighter. He kicks our ass and everything like that. Maybe he's worthy to marry my daughter. Maybe also part of the equation. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Draco does talk at one point about being having a dossier or something that's incomplete on Bond. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's very possible, like through the henchmen and maybe just through the grapevine. He's a very rich guy. He's powerful. Mm-hmm. Most like all the other guys that Bond encounters that we've seen so far, where they have these private trains or submarine telescopes. If they can pull that kind of stuff off, then surely if someone did enough homework. Once again, going back to Batman, Bane figured out who Batman was.
Right.
So.
But back to Bond, he still refused £1 million. He needs something else, Travis. He needed something else.
He didn't refuse it until later on, and we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, after this whole thing,
it wasn't enough, I guess, for Bond.
Right. But here's the other thing: is he's not just offering him the £1 million. He knows that he's looking for Blofeld, and he thinks that he has a line on where Blofeld is hiding out. Mm-hmm. And for all of you who don't remember, Blofeld is number 1. He's the guy who's in charge of Spectre,
holding the cat.
And in the last movie, Bond defeated him in his volcano base in Japan. Mm-hmm. And Blofeld ended up blowing up the whole base and escaping. Mm-hmm. So Bond has been looking for him for 2 years, has no leads, has nothing, and this guy is like, man, I'm going to give you £1 million, plus I'm going to tell you where to find Blofeld, possibly.
Or all this to marry my daughter.
Right.
Like, wow, thank you for being a good citizen of the world that you
never
couldn't just magically just be a nice guy and just give us the information.
Never mind that you might have STDs or whatever.
Right.
But
so Bond was like, I'm in. And so what happens the next day, if I'm correct, Travis, they go to a bull riding. I mean,
Bond actually goes to the office and talks to M.
Oh God, this one. Okay, yeah, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Sorry, listener. Sorry, I forgot about this part.
So Bond goes to the office because M summoned him, and M tells him that after 2 years he's had no luck. He's off the case. They're going to find him something else to do.
By the way, guys, it's been 2 years since the last movie, so wink, wink.
Oh, was it really?
I think the
67.
I think the other one was 67.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So wink, wink. It's been
wink,
2 years since the next Bond movie.
Okay.
So,
so Bond is furious, or he's not furious. He's just mad, and he walks out of M's office.
No one says no to Bond.
he walks out of M's office and into the foyer where Moneypenny works, and he tells Moneypenny to write up his resignation and give it to M. And Bond goes to pack up his desk, and in there. Oh, go ahead.
This is going to be our Q branch. This is probably the best we're going to get, right?
Well, no, because
really
they're artifacts from the previous movies.
I know, but that's the only Q branch we got.
Honey Rider's knife is in there. Like it's. There's little mementos from each of his missions.
A lot of Easter eggs in this, guys.
And he goes back to Moneypenny's office, and M tells him that he approved his request, and Moneypenny hands in the slip, and Bond is a little saddened, and she's like, "Well, you should probably read what the request says," and basically Moneypenny just asked for vacation instead of resignation. So Bond gets approved for vacation. He goes back to Portugal, where he meets up with Draco and Draco's daughter Tracy, and gets the information that Blofeld was working with a German lawyer named Gebruder Gumbold.
Which we never see him.
Yeah, we do.
For what, in a picture?
No, he walks out of his office.
Oh God!
As Bond is walking into the building.
I'm sorry. Like I'm trying really hard, but this movie took a lot out of both of us. So it's me trying to make sure I remember every little thing.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Halfway through, right. my note taking became less detailed.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Anyway, so there's they're at this place in Portugal, and there's a bunch of aristocrats, and I want to say there's bullfighting, but nobody is actually fighting the bulls.
There was a bunch of rodeo clowns.
It's like rodeo,
yeah,
right?
It's like a rodeo clownish thing.
Right. Nobody's actually fighting with the bull. They're just holding up flags and running around and wrestling, really, because a couple of guys let the bulls run into them, and they tried to wrestle them down. One guy even successfully gets hit in the gut, grabs the bull by the horns, and twists the bull down to the ground. It's just what kind of sport is this?
Right. And so while that was going on, that was supposed to be more in the background stuff, but they're all coming together, and Draco's trying to convince Tracy that you should hook up with Bond.
Right. So Tracy's sister or best friend is actually there. I never really understood who she was. I believe it is her sister. Kind of tells her what her dad had done in offering Bond the £1 million plus the information if he would settle down with Tracy and marry her.
And by the way, we forgot to throw this out here. Let's rewind for a second. Is during the conversation with Bond and Draco having a conversation of how they're going to get Tracy, Bond was going to ask, how are you going to get Tracy to come to agree with this? Well, this event that we're talking about is his birthday, and she'll show up no matter what.
Oh, it's his... Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah, it's Draco's birthday.
I missed that.
And she will show up no matter what, because that's
it's his daughter.
Yeah, so that's the reason. That's how she got here, because there was no other reason for her to show up.
Right.
So yeah, it's her dad's birthday. Okay, Travis, go on.
Okay. So anyway, they're all sitting down talking, and Tracy kind of informs them both that she knows about the arrangement.
Right. She's not an idiot.
Right. Her sister told, of course. And then, like, the next scene is like a weird love montage.
Yeah.
Where Bond and Tracy are driving around Portugal, I'm assuming, and just like shopping, and like it's really peculiar. It's really strange.
It's kind of out of place, and it just came too quick. And it's like, wait, what?
Right.
Like,
it's almost like
I don't even remember her agreeing to it yet.
It's almost like if there was a Batman version of Taming of the Shrew, where Talia al Ghul was the shrew, and Ra's al Ghul was trying to get her married. Like, I hate to keep going back to Batman, but I think that's the thing that most people who will probably listen to this will understand. If you don't know Taming of the Shrew, just watch the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. It's the modern telling of that movie, or that play.
So after the shopping whatsoever, what was Bond's next plan? Like, how was he going to get there? We'll let you know after this break. And welcome back to Bond Never Dies. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, with Travis Hanna.
Ba-da.
And we left you with Tracy and Bond love montage. But
that's right. Horseback riding, shopping, twirling around on the beach. Love songs. We have all the time in the world. There's no hurry.
That in itself can be a commercial right there, just advertising something.
Herpes?
Yeah, Trojan. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's time for Bond to get down to business. He got the info. He needs to get the info to find Blofeld somehow to get some information out of it. So, what did they do? Draco gave him information about a particular lawyer.
That's right. Gebruder Gumbold. And so Bond uses Draco's connections. It just so happens that across the street from Gumbold's office, there's construction going on, and the company is owned by Draco. And so Bond walks into the Gumbold's building as Gumbold is walking out of his office, and breaks into Gumbold's office and finds a safe. Well, he walks out to the balcony, and one of the cranes that's doing construction has a giant bucket, and one of the guys puts this big box inside the bucket.
A blonde-haired guy.
Yeah. Which will play a part later. The bucket goes up to the balcony. Bond pulls it out. It turns out it's a machine for cracking a safe. And so, while Bond is hooking it up, it cuts back to Draco and Tracy. Tracy's talking about how she's actually fallen in love with Bond.
That fast, huh?
Hey, man, it just takes a montage.
Right, man.
It's French. It means hurried up. Well, and then it cuts back to Bond, who finds a Playboy magazine while he's waiting for the safe cracking machine to do its thing. And so he's looking at that. The machine finishes. He's going through paperwork. And he finds out that there might be some connection to Blofeld through a name, Comte Balthazar de Beauchamp, which is like the precursor to the name Blofeld. So it turns out the safe cracking machine is also a copier. So he's making copies of all these documents he finds in the safe from Gumbold.
Would you count that as a Q? Do you think that's a Q thing? You think it's part of the Q? I mean, Q didn't drop it off and say anything.
It can't be. There's no Q branch on this one. But
no, it makes it sad, right? That makes me sad.
There was radioactive lint. That's all we get.
Yeah, okay.
That's the only time Q shows up.
It's so sad.
Like, we don't get really... Even the car wasn't that big. Like, it was an Aston Martin even. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really play a big role in this one.
Go on.
So anyway, Bond makes copies. He puts the machine back in the box. The bucket comes back over to the balcony. He throws the case into the bucket, which you need to understand. Both times this bucket hit the building hard.
I know, right?
And there's nobody oh wait, something just hit our building. Anyway.
No one saw this.
Yeah, nobody.
No one cared to ask why is there a thing going up? Okay.
Right. Anyway, Bond walks away. He tore out the centerfold from the Playboy, unfurls it, and then furls it back up and walks out of the building. So he's got all the documents he took copies of and the centerfold. Right after.
He didn't hand it to nobody. He kept this.
Yeah, he kept it. He added it to his Bond spank bank. But right after the love montage and Tracy just got done saying how much she's in love with Bond, this is what they give us. So anyway, let's see.
So we find out that Bond is, I guess he's returning back to M.
Right, because now he has evidence of where Blofeld might be, and so he actually goes to M's house. It looks like
drops off the Playboy magazine picture. No, just kidding.
And he shows M the paperwork and explains that the name that's being used has a correlation to Blofeld. And since he's still on vacation, M is just go do whatever.
And we find out that M
collects butterflies.
He's a butterfly person. And he has a ton. If you go see the scene, it's a whole wall. It's him a butterfly, he got it. All right? It's insane how much he got. Anyways, so after M, he told him okay, yeah, go do your thing. And so where does he end up going?
He goes to the College of Arms, where Blofeld has been in contact with a Sir Hilary Bray, who was a expert on genealogy and families. And so we actually find out something kind of interesting here. He meets with Hilary Bray, and Bray actually has the Bond coat of arms, which their family motto is Orbis non sufficit, which means the world is not enough. So anybody who is an avid Bond fan will kind of find that interesting, because there's another movie named The World Is Not Enough. So we'll get to that when we talk about Pierce Brosnan. But so Bond, gets some information from Sir Hilary, what the genetic markers are, which happens to be no earlobes. So on most people where your ears come down a little bit, theirs kind of just round off, and they don't really have lobes. It's not looks like somebody cut them off. They're just not pronounced. And so Bond takes this information and goes as Sir Hilary to Switzerland to see what Blofeld is really up to.
And this is actually, if you know Bond movies very well, they always have this theme of taking you to a brand new, always a different country, and that's the whole theme of what they're trying to do. Here is Switzerland, and Switzerland is a very beautiful country.
Right.
A lot of mountains, of course. It's extremely cold. What's interesting about it too is just seeing how the cars can deal with that much snow everywhere. It has nothing to do with the movie, but it's just in general, just seeing that,
If you've seen Rocky 4, where he goes to Russia to train before he fights Draco. Interesting. I just put that together.
Right.
It's very much like that, where there's high snow. It's actually Christmas time, I believe. But the blonde guy who who gave him the case is there and is kind of tracking Bond and keeping an eye on him.
I'm trying to make sure here. Who is the woman that picks up Bond as he disguises himself? Is this the character that we wrote down for?
Her name is Irma Bunt in the movie.
That's what I thought. Okay. She's the one that picked him up, and they got in a sled.
Right. She's played by a woman named Steppat. They get in a sled. They get in a helicopter.
And then but during that whole time, that mysterious blonde guy, the guy that you saw at the construction site at the lawyer's office, send him up with the briefcase through a crane, is actually there as, I guess, like, keep an eye on Bond. Now we find out that he might be part of Draco's people.
Well, he is. He's the one.
But they don't do a good job in general of giving you the clue, like, hey man, I got somebody that's gonna help you out there. Never referencing things at all.
I'm a big fan of movies respecting the intelligence of the audience and not like spelling every little detail out. In this, I kind of would have liked if there was some kind of reference to I'll have a guy. Maybe there was and I missed it. It sounds like you missed it too if it was there. But for the longest, I had to go back and try to figure out who this dude was because he plays a role later on.
I like the little things. You don't have to say, hey, here's a picture. You know what he looks like. You just say, hey, I got one of my men's out there for you. Keep an eye out for him. That's all you have to do is say it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll put two and two together. Anyways, so he's following him. Anyways.
So they get in a helicopter. Bond and Bunt get in a helicopter, and they fly to the top of this mountain where there's a research facility.
And in this research facility, what could you say about it? It looks big on the outside, but it feels small on the inside. So
to me, I thought about when I saw it, Batman Begins, when he goes to Tibet and first meets Ra's al Ghul, or
the Kingsman.
Yeah, the Kingsman is a good one.
They use a mountaintop that looks remarkably the same as that one.
But Inception also, when they're in Cillian Murphy's head and there's like that whole snow scene and there's that building out in the snow, it kind of resembles that a little bit, but it's a giant concrete structure at the top of this mountain. And Bond as Sir Hilary Bray is going to verify that Blofeld is who he's claiming to be, but also because they heal sicknesses and allergies and things like that at this facility, which is what they're researching.
So after he gets in, I believe that he I'm trying to remember, does he go see Blofeld first or does he go straight to the room?
He lands, they take him to his room where he inspects and looks around for bugs or anything they could use to keep tab on.
Good job, Bond. He did it right. That's one of my pet. I think that's one of our main things. Is like when we watch any movies, like anytime he's in the room, like, Bond, did you check the room?
Right.
Check the room, Bond.
Yeah, come on, buddy.
You've done this so many times. If you're not checking the room, I'm not gonna believe you in this. I'm not gonna believe you on this mission, buddy.
This is how spiders almost get you.
Right. So,
Bond gets dressed for the evening. I guess he's going to meet the other patients, and he puts on a kilt because Sir Hilary is Scottish. And when he goes up, he notices that all the other patients are hot women, and
all around the world.
This is kind of funny because Sir Hilary is. They don't say gay, but they do say he doesn't fancy women, which is the kind way of saying he's gay. Mm-hmm. So all of these women who have been at the top of this mountain, all of a sudden are interested in Sir Hilary.
We never seen a man before in years.
Right. It's kind of funny because it gets really boring from here for a little bit. Like, he actually explains to them what genealogy is.
And all these women are beautiful. And it's like, why are we not talking about how beautiful these women are?
And, it's just crazy.
What? We're talking about this?
So they're doing dinner, and they're demonstrating how they've been kind of cured from their allergies. They're all eating food that they wouldn't normally be able to eat.
Okay, hang on. No. We need to talk about this right now. Okay. We already know going into who Bond is fancying. We already know this.
Right.
Did he make the right choice who he fancied? Because I think any girl he picked, it was going to lay out the same scenario. I don't think the girl he picked would have made a huge difference. Which girl? Do you think she was a good pick for him to go after? I think there was other women that look way better than that one. And I'm not attacking the short hair. I'm just saying, if you watch this movie, there's a short hair, there's a long hair, there's a black girl, there's a Hawaiian girl, there's all multicultural.
There's like 7 different women.
And I'm telling you,
or 10 different women.
The white girl with the short hair, to me, was the least attractive one out of the whole.
Well, but here's the deal: is we only really get to see the personality of 2 of these girls.
Yeah, but because that's what Bond was going to focus on. He was picking the first 2. I'm just saying, like, Bond could have picked another girl. We would have got the same thing too.
Right, and the crazy part here is also Bond is macking on these girls. Like, it's not like he's saving himself for Tracy. Mm-hmm. Like, these girls are showing interest, and he's playing along. And one of them is named Ruby. And at the end of the night tells him, hey, I'm in room 8. If you sneak out tonight, you should sneak into my room.
By the way, my pick was the girl that came after her. Go on.
Her name was Nancy. And she's the only other girl we really get any information from.
It felt like
the rest of them are just
like the
background.
Spice Girls were all there, right?
The rest of these girls are just background, and we watch them eat. Like, one of them, like, they're literally just stuffing their face. One of them just, like, stuffs a banana in there.
Yeah, but the girl that in room number 8, she was actually allergic to chicken.
Right, and so she's eating chicken.
She's eating chicken, but there's a reason behind it, so don't go into that. I just think that we have all these women, and I think Bond made the wrong choice. That's just my pet peeve for that. Bond doesn't lose a point. He's still bonded. But I'm just saying, like, Bond, there were other girls you could bond with. You know what I mean?
Right. So Bond actually meets Balthazar, who is Blofeld, and they have a little bit of a dialogue. Nothing too important, just kind of sizing each other up.
But what was the most important part of that conversation? The most important part of the conversation was his job there to show him that his family...
It's to prove that he's Blochamp, which is the French version of Blofeld. Mm-hmm. And he even, like, calls him out. He's like, look, I don't even have earlobes. And Bond tells him, well, just because you cut off your earlobes doesn't mean that you're a Blochamp, you know. Like, it takes other things. It's an interesting... just from here on out, just the way things progress. So Bond goes back to his room.
By the way, this Blofeld that we're mentioning is a different kind of Blofeld. This one is not the Blofeld that you've seen You Only Live Twice.
Well, I think it's supposed to be the same Blofeld, but there is a different actor.
Yeah, this edition of Blofeld is different from the edition from You Only Live Twice. So You're not going to see the scars. The only thing that stayed with him was a cat, per se.
Right.
Per se. So, anyways, go on, Travis.
So, Bond sneaks out of his room. He goes to Ruby's room.
Before you go there, there is something that he tried to do. Get the door open. Remember that? It was electric.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get it. So what did he do to do that? He grabbed so he grabbed this device. I mean, he grabbed this piece of metal thing. Long, and then he scoped it around so he can scan it to get it open, because he reached his finger and sparks came out of it. So he grabbed the device to scan through, then the door opened and he grabbed, because these doors shut permanently at a certain time.
Magnetically sealed.
Yeah, and they're going to be open from the outside, so Bond got out of it. Go on, sorry. I just thought it was pretty unique, because that was like the only kind of like, oh, Bond, this is the first time we see Bond actually use a skill outside of not using gadgets or whatnot, so I thought that was pretty cool. So go on.
So he's in there and he's talking to Ruby. And all of a sudden, like, these psychedelic colors start happening on the ceiling. and Blofeld's voice
Oh,
starts.
this happened after he's bonding it. He bonded first, and then that happened.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he got it in. Go on.
okay. I must have cut that out. Anyway, the voice is basically hypnotizing these women into ignoring their allergies. And so Bond can't get Ruby to respond because she's hypnotized. So he leaves her room and goes back to his room where Nancy is waiting for him.
Oh, Nancy. Nasty. So she's in there, and like Bond did it again, and then next day.
But remember, he's gonna marry Tracy.
Does he know about this stuff?
So while all this is going on, the blonde-haired dude sees a ski lift that goes up to the top of the mountain, and he tries to ride it up, but there's henchmen that stop him from going.
Yeah, and he mentioned that like, hey, there's a party going up there. How come I can't get in there? You know, there's a party going on, all this stuff. I see people up there. It's like, no, the place is shut down. That doesn't make sense, buddy. That doesn't make any sense. So after they push him away, he walked off.
And then he shows back up with climbing gear, and he starts climbing the mountain. At which point he gets shot at and caught, and Bond kind of recognizes him from the construction site.
Because during that time also, right, because Bond was actually playing shuffleboard with the girls.
Well, curling. They're curling.
Curling, sorry. They were curling outside because Bond was up there just seeing what's going on, and he was supposed to have a conversation with Blofeld, and then that event happened where he got captured. Go on.
And he tells another girl, "I'll see you tonight."
Nice.
Like it's so crazy.
Tracy, I'm so sorry.
I love you,
Tracy.
Anyway, let's see. Bond tries to...
I'm trying to get it in before we get married.
It's nighttime again, and Bond tries to sneak back into Ruby's room.
He's not even trying, Travis. He literally just walked over there like it was nothing.
And he sees her laying in bed, and it turns out that it's a big, silly trap. And he gets captured by Bunt, knocked out, and he wakes up, and he's talking to Blofeld, who has figured out that it's Bond. Now, previous to this, Blofeld knows what Bond looks like. Blofeld knows who Bond is. There's a lot of inconsistencies in this movie that kind of mess up the rest of the movies. So take this movie with a grain of salt if you watch it. But this is where Blofeld finally, an hour into the movie, tells us that he has a virus that he wants to release, and he's going to use the women to do it. So he's basically been hypnotizing these women, so when they go back to their respective countries, they're going to release a virus that will stop plants, animals, and humans from procreating, so he can destroy the markets if the UN doesn't give in to his demands.
And the question that rolls my head on that is the fact that, like, okay, how are they going to spread the virus? Like, how does this particular woman in their own country spread the virus? Is it sleeping with somebody?
Well,
is it supposed to activate, supposed to release something from her?
They get a device. Well, first off, Blofeld killed the blonde dude and shows Bond. Has him hanging upside down from his climbing equipment. But
I did that.
Yeah,
I did that
just for you, buddy. The girls are given a special communication device, and the virus, as presents. Like,
it's so weird.
They're Christmas presents.
Yeah.
They're wrapped in purple paper.
Yeah, it was so weird how he did it. Because I guess these women never ever seen Blofeld before. They only know by his voice, maybe.
No, they've seen him because while they were curling, he was out there talking to Bond.
I don't even think they know that's him. I don't know.
But anyway, the girls get hypnotized while they're there. So basically, they've been subliminally programmed to release this unless they get a special communication not to.
Yeah. So during that time, as from that point, Blofeld was explaining his whole plan, and then Bond was going to be put into a room where, he's no longer needed for the time being, and he ended up being in this room where it's a machinery that helps bring the lift up from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. It was a little room in there. So this whole time, Bond is trying to figure out how to get across, because there's this big drop between where he's at in this little hole where the rope goes through. And so Bond is trying different ways, but he almost falls off and all this. So what does he do? He rips the bottom of his pockets and use them as glove material to walk across. Because the reason is because he doesn't get the rope burn-ish, because the thing is moving.
So he does like the army crawl on the rope, where he climbs on top of it and pulls himself along. Also, it's crazy cold outside because they're in the Alps.
Because he's wearing a Mr. Rogers sweater. Go on.
Right, and so he pulls himself and he escapes. And then a ski chase ensues, which is pretty fun and pretty entertaining, especially because there's a part where one of the henchmen flies off a cliff. And we watch him fall.
I know.
All the way down to the ground.
I didn't think they were really gonna go that far.
And it's obviously a dummy, but they did a good job in this because he doesn't flail around like he's a dummy. He just it's almost like a mannequin. But it was pretty entertaining.
Fun fact on the ski scene. That ski scene in particular was actually played by a stunt double that is an Olympus winner. He's an Olympus ski winner. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his name is... Actually, let's keep going, and I'm going to look up his name real quick, and then we'll talk about that. So, after the ski scene, he makes it into the town. It's nighttime now.
Right, it's nighttime, and there's a Christmas festival going on. Bond is kind of using the crowds to hide, and he eventually stumbles upon Tracy, who has been looking for him. And there's another car chase that ensues with the henchmen and Bond and Tracy. And there's a scene where there's a crowd of people. And Tracy suggests, let's go drive through the crowd of people and hope that the bad guys won't do what the good guys are doing, which was just dumb.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it felt like it was a good idea at first. You know what I mean? It was one of hitting the right in the moment. It's like if you were with a buddy, let's do this right now. I was like, dude, I don't know about this idea, man. Let's do it. No, let's not do that. Let's not do that. And so, so from there.
Real quick, we missed something in the festival. There's a guy in a polar bear costume and a camera, and he takes a picture with the flash, and it spooks Bond. It was a real dumb scene, but it was real funny because of how dumb it was. But anyway, so Tracy and Bond end up in a barn. They lose all the henchmen, and they spend the night and Bond in the barn.
No, wait. You can't go that far yet. I mean, we got to talk about the biggest part of that scene. So when he goes through the people, he ends up going to this... Apparently, there was a race going on in this whole circuit.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So there's this whole circuit going on. That scene was very long. It was a very long scene. It ended up being more of a goofball, funny scene because the driver, the people that were chasing him, Miss Bunt, and the men were chasing them. And they thought, well, if you can go in there, we can go in there too. And so they went in there. And the cars that were in there, they were a little bit... I want to say they were a little bit smaller than the cars that Bond...
Yeah, they were like Mini Coopers and things like that.
So they were definitely racing all the way down, driving all around the circuit until they found a plan. We got to find somewhere to escape. And during this whole time, a bunch of cars were crashing each other. It felt like NASCAR. It was just crashing everywhere. And they finally get out and they finally escape. But the other car didn't do quite so well because it ran another car, flipped upside down, and ran into a crowd.
Right.
And so Then they finally escape. The snow was coming in heavy, Travis. The snow was coming in heavy, Travis. They couldn't see, and they had to figure out something.
Well, and the car was losing electricity or something, or gas. Mm-hmm. So they find this barn, and they bring the car into the barn, and they shack up there for the night, literally.
And so this is where one of the, I guess you can say, one of the cherished moments, or the most romantic moment.
Yeah, after he's boned like 10 women on a mountain.
Didn't tell her, by the way.
Yeah, anyway, so the next morning they wake up, and they escape on skis because the henchmen have caught up with them. And Blofeld sends some guys after them and then causes an avalanche. And Bond and Tracy get swallowed up in the avalanche, and they think Bond is dead, but they find Tracy, and they take her hostage.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to think. Okay, so after that particular scene right there,
so then it cuts to Blofeld.
There it is. Okay,
talking to Tracy, and he's actually proposing to her. Probably because he wants the wealth that Tracy comes with. Mm-hmm. But Bond shows up with Tracy's dad Draco, and a whole fight ensues with guns and grenades, and it's a pretty intense fight scene. Because
it ends up during that fight, Draco arrives, right, and then he starts trying to get ready to blow up the place, so this whole fiasco thing could be buried.
Right, and so they rescue Tracy, and they set bombs because Bond clearly has told Draco what's going on. Mm-hmm. Tracy is worried that Bond isn't going with them on the helicopter, so Draco straight punches Tracy in the face. Like
it was like a cold cut. It was out of nowhere.
Right on the chin to knock her out, to get her on the helicopter, and Blofeld is escaping on a bobsled, and Bond pursues after him, where Bond gets really close to catching up to him, and then eventually Blofeld drops a grenade, and Bond's sled gets blown up, the research facility at the top of the mountain gets blown up, Bond slides down a hill and catches up with Blofeld and ends up on the same bobsled as Blofeld. I say bobsled. They're like, if you watch the Olympics, it's like the single man luge. They're not like the super long team bobsleds. They're just wire like metal frames that you can sit on. They're glorified sleds. Mm-hmm. But they're fighting, and then Blofeld actually, at a high speed, gets his head stuck in a tree. There's a branch that's forked out, and his neck goes right into the center of that fork.
Yeah, like we don't know if his neck got broke or anything like that.
It looks like Blofeld might be dead.
Mm-hmm. And so, then from there, everything went well. Bond completed his mission and everything. So what's the next big step? Well,
let's get married.
It's time to propose this chick. So I married this chick. So in
the love montage, they show a ring that Tracy was interested in. Bond goes and gets the ring. Draco puts on this crazy wedding. Bunch of people are there. Draco ends up trying to hand Bond the £1 million, and Bond gives it back to him. They get into a car and they're driving away, and they both stop to admire the view because they're on this winding road and there's a beach. And
brought back memories.
Right, while they're talking, a car comes by and starts shooting at them, and you find it's Bunt and Blofeld. He's still alive. Mm-hmm. And Bond is getting ready to go after him, and he gets in the car, and Tracy's dead. She got shot in the head. In the back of the head through the back window.
And Bond is holding on to her while backup came.
Well, a police officer kind of rolls up, mm-hmm. and Bond is holding her, and he says, "There's no hurry. We have all the time in the world," just like the song. Mm-hmm. And just as we're starting to really care about Bond and Tracy and really put together what's happened, it cuts to the Bond theme and just completely kills the mood.
And just roll credits, and that's it. It fades out. The last thing you saw was the bullet went through the glass, and then the credits roll, and that's what their main focus on. It really feels like that, at the very beginning where they, Bond walks in the scene, he shoots at you, and it feels like that's where the bullet went. It went in that glass and killed her. But anyways, so what do we thought of Your Majesty's Secret Service?
I don't mind Lazenby as a Bond character. I actually ended up kind of liking the whole him falling in love. Like, I thought that the Lazenby and Rigg played really well together. They really made it believable, but it was just too long.
I think it was too long and too rushed. Like, I don't know how you do that in both ways. It's too long and it got too rushed. Like you can't use a character like Tracy in the first half and then not have her in the second half until like the very end. Like, if they really wanted to make this relationship something special, she should have been it through the very beginning all the way to this. Like, she should have been selected to be on this mission, then they start slowly fall in love during the mission or something like that. To me, you can't do that, and then Bond is going to go sleep with all these other women, and then I was like, well, that's Bond, and and also too was like, the movie didn't know what it wanted to do. I don't think Lazenby was at fault. I think the movie didn't know what it wanted to do. I don't know what the director wanted to do. They wanted to make this a romance. At first, we thought it was about Tracy. We thought Tracy was in trouble. We're going to find out who's chasing after Tracy. What all this. Totally a 180 to the fact, hey, I got information about Blofeld. Well, where did this come from? If Tracy and Blofeld were connected, this would have been something awesome. But it wasn't. It was nothing like that. And I think it just ended up losing its own self halfway through the movie. So that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, it just took way too long to know what we were doing. Like, yeah, Bond was looking for Blofeld, but
that was 40 minutes into the movie we finally figure out what he was really trying to do. It was 40 minutes.
And then, like, everything we blew through was the other hour and a half. It's just too long. It's too long to try and tell this story. Or I guess maybe there's too much going on that made it long. But I don't know. I don't think I hated it as much as I did when I was younger. And I actually, like I said, I felt for Tracy and I felt for Bond. I think they should have given us more time as the audience to appreciate what was going on. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe pan out and have the car sitting there and then do a fade to black. Because it literally just shows the bullet hole through the windshield, mm-hmm. and then goes da 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 da. Right. I mean, it's just like whatever sadness you had is just cut short.
Right. And so on that note, though, before we can break down to the Bond villains, how we feel about that, this is not. I wouldn't even put it in my top 10. Personally, for me, I think it was a movie that it tried to do something different. It just didn't execute right, and it's hard for me to go back and watch this again.
I agree. I don't ever plan on seeing it again, mm-hmm. Unless something like what we're doing happens again.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I'll probably remember for a while what happened. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I probably give it 2.5 stars. I'll say 2.5 out of 5 stars.
But it's definitely not in your top 5, right?
No, it's not in my top 5.
Okay.
Mainly because Blofeld isn't the same character. He doesn't have the scar on the face, and they never address if he had plastic surgery.
Okay. So let's break it down. Okay. Let's talk about the Bond villain. How do we feel like this edition of Blofeld in general compare? We know he's not the original Blofeld because this is supposed to be kind of like a funny. It's supposed to be kind of like a remake.
Well, like I said, they reference Sean Connery. They break the fourth wall. They use the same names. It's just really weird that it's done by the same people, because it doesn't tie into anything after this, which very well could have been the next one, Diamonds Are Forever, retconned this. But I just there's no continuity for me.
So this Blofeld, how do you feel about him though?
I thought his plan was stupid.
His plan is stupid.
Yeah,
I actually, to tell you the truth,
like
I actually kind of like this Blofeld a little bit more than the other one, because he actually got his hands dirty and he actually did some stuff. You know, if he had the scar and everything, I think he'd be the best Blofeld. But I think his idea was the dumbest thing ever. It didn't make any sense. It felt like that. It sounded good on paper, but no one asked him the questions of, well, what if the girls don't do it? It's not like you're forcing them to do it.
Well, they were hypnotized. They were going to do it, but
yeah, but like, were they hypnotized enough to like they fly back and then they press the switch at a certain place at a certain time, or they have to be activated to do it? Right?
They would be activated almost like Manchurian Candidate type thing.
Yeah, but I feel like that someone has to be there to monitor them to make them activate. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people were
secret evil organization with unlimited power. Surely,
yeah, they would have figured out. I get that, but still, it's just it was a very boring idea. The pace of the movie was boring. But Blofeld himself, sorry, we're getting off task. We keep going back how we felt the movie. Blofeld himself, to me, I thought he was a cool character. I thought, he got his hands dirty. He just had a terrible idea. He just had a terrible idea.
I would have liked it better if this was a different villain.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I think a lot of my problem with movies, especially reboots, is when they try to tie in characters and change them.
Right, because we got this thing, and we'll be going to that movie way in the future, but Spectre was an example of bringing Blofeld out and bringing a new edition of that.
Right. And so like, had this guy been somebody else doing this, and we got to take a break from Blofeld because he couldn't find him, I think I would have probably liked him better. But because they're saying he is Blofeld, I'm like, I know he's not my Blofeld.
Right. They could have sugared this like he was a clone of something, or
a brother even, a cousin, some kind of relative, which would explain why he even cares about the title Blowchamp. I mean, they could have done a number of things, and they didn't.
So how do we think about the Bond girl? How did Tracy do?
I thought Tracy interacted very well with Bond. To me, it was believable. She was a strong character. She didn't let people tell her what to do. She was kind of bratty because she was acting out against her father. But I thought Bond and her played off each other well, and I really did get the notion that she loved him.
Okay. I like Tracy too. I agree some of the stuff you had. I think I blame the movie for not really pushing her character a little bit more than it is. They really use her in the first half. They use her as more of a connection to Bond, and in the second half they use her more of trying to move the plot.
Right, because she just shows up, so she's Deus Ex Machina.
It was just like, what a coincidence. Here we are. I'll help you out.
Right.
And it never asked, like, what are you doing here in the first place? They never even asked her, like, what are you doing here in Switzerland?
Or what happened to the blonde guy?
Yeah, none of those questions ever got asked. They were just like, okay, well, I'll help you. All right, bye. And so, but I guess the final question now is, well, two questions. One is Tracy in your top 5? Was she a good Bond girl to be in your top 5?
I think she was a good Bond girl, but she didn't kick enough ass for me. Like I said, I thought the actress was great. She really, I felt, brought that character to life. But
she's not.
I think out of the Bond girls coming up, even if I put her on my list, she's going to be replaced quickly.
Okay.
So maybe in the top 10, but not the top 5.
Okay. And then let's go ahead and talk about this particular one. This is probably a one-time, well, for now, until we go back to Sean Connery. But how do we feel about this edition of Bond? How do we feel about George Lazenby being this Bond?
I don't mind him. One thing I found particularly interesting is he doesn't have like a pronounced British accent. You know, like I had a hard time at times telling that he was British. I felt like he was more American.
Maybe that's why he had the wardrobe to really have people know that he is British, even though he didn't have the accent.
Maybe. Also, it could have just been the style for the time.
That's true too.
But it's I don't know. It's just very strange. I don't mind him as Bond. I would have been curious to see him in another Bond role.
I think they gave Bond in this particular movie. I think they gave Bond more of an action because if you notice, like they gave him a lot more action scene in this movie than actual like dialogue to do because he didn't really have long conversations that much. It was more short and straight to the point, and he moves on. Actually, more of the other characters talk more than Bond in this whole movie, to me.
And I get that. I didn't like the cut editing and the fight.
The editing
scenes.
was not good.
I would rather watch Sean Connery throw bad punches than just chops of
like highlights. It felt like they
right.
It felt like they recorded the whole thing and they just took out the clips that were cool.
They montaged the fights for us in a single. Yeah, it was weird. Anyway, I don't mind Lazenby as Bond. I know a lot of people don't like him, and a lot of people do. To me, he's just in there.
And fun fact, Lazenby, he actually didn't want to do Bond anymore. He quit doing it after the first one because he just didn't like where he was going with it. He didn't get a say in anything of the Bond movies. He was offered 7 movies after this one, and he turned them all down. And there's actually a documentary out for it, and I want to watch that to learn more about the story behind the scenes, how he felt, because he started doing commercials first. Before, and then Broccoli saw him, and he's like, "Wait, why don't you try out for the part?" And they put him in there.
Interesting.
And so to turn down 7 movies. All people were saying.
So then crazy. I wonder, was this supposed to be a reboot?
I think.
Well, it can't be because they referenced that he'd been looking for him for 2 years. Like I said, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this movie, which also takes me out of the reality of what's going on.
And we don't know what happened on the set. Some things could have changed set to change that story all of a sudden because I'm not doing anything after this movie, or we don't know. We don't know what everything.
Which is true.
We don't know what's going on, but I want to thank everybody for hanging on, listening to us. We had a fun, even though this movie was a little bit boring, we still had a good time watching it and talking about it. But that's not the only episode. If you just started watching this, definitely listen to our past episode where we talk about movies from Thunderball, Goldfinger, From Russia with Love, Dr. No, and You Only Live Twice. And then our next one coming up on our episode, it's kind of 6.5, but it's also 7 because they don't count this movie anymore. But next one's Diamonds Are Forever.
Also check out episode 0 if you are interested in what our thoughts were.
I recommend everybody listen to episode 0 first before continuing this show, because you really get to see what we think of at that point, how we felt.
But before we went back and we watched these, we laid out what our top 5 movies, top 5 Bonds, top 5 Bond girls, music, everything. So at the end of this, we're gonna revisit all of that and see what changed and what didn't.
Right. And with that, we will catch you on our next mission. And be sure to listen to our commercial to learn more information about the podcast and other podcasts on this network.
Ba-da, ba-da.
Hi, and thank you so much for taking time to listen to the show that is part of the In-Game Boss program. Remember, you can always visit us on Facebook and Twitter to get the up-to-date news about what shows are premiering and whatnot. And also, you can always listen to our shows on iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. And remember to follow and subscribe, leave a review and a 5-star rating to keep us going. And thank you so much. And with that, we will catch you on our next mission.
Ba-da, ba-da.